Have you ever gotten a spreadsheet that just has a total that's completely wrong? There's no way it adds up. It doesn't make any sense to you. We're going to try and fix that. So, there's two functions we have today, subtotal and aggregate. The first one right here, subtotal, that's the one that we're going to look at right now. And we have this normal table of data. Nothing out of the ordinary. It's whatever goods were sold here. We've got apples, bananas, cherries, dogs, elephants, and Ferraris, and then how many we sold, quantity, no problem, how much each one costs, revenue per unit, and the total amount when you just multiply this by this. So you'll see right there. And then we have our grand totals right here. So there were a sum of 106 items moved. The revenue per unit averaged to $370.86, and the total of everything sold times the revenue, $4,400. If we go here though, let's say we don't want to look at, we want to pull Ferraris out of there because, hey, it's not really similar to the rest of it. Oh, that's another trick. When you go to one of these drop-down menus, you can either click on it and do this, click here, or if you hold Alt, press the down arrow, and then you can just use the down arrow, no problem. So you go Control up, Alt down, and there you go. There's a few other hotkeys in there, but not super pertinent. So, alright, we pull out Ferraris, and we look at the grand total using our sum function. It still has Ferraris in there, because you see we only can view A5 through, well, I guess here D5 through D9. However, this is still going D5 through D10. So it's adding in that $2,000 in the Ferrari. So you get this data, that's a problem. You send this off, you're going to look like an idiot. Then you're going to have to justify it, you're going to have to figure out what it is, and that's typically how you learn how these functions really work, because something bites you. But if you use this subtotal function right here, it's a little more complicated, but it's still pretty easy. It's not an issue at all. So if you have a table, it's right here. We have 4404, and let's say we pull out Ferraris. Sum will not adjust, subtotal will. There we go. 44 or 40410, 40410. And that's the cool thing about subtotal. What it does is it's going to adjust to whatever is in the data that's visible right there. So if you have a not a pivot table, but if you have really any kind of data table, any kind of reference that you may have some flexibility in, subtotal is definitely the function to go with. So in order to write it in, we go equals. If you go sub, you're going to get substitute first. So you have to drop down, go subtotal. Then we get this whole list of functions. For the most part, we use two. 1 for average and 9 for sum. We're not going to use very much standard deviation, not variance, a whole lot. We won't be using count or count A. You may. Those are good ones to use. Same with max and min. And product is good. Max will find the highest range or value in a range. Minimum will find the lowest. Product, you can multiply some stuff, all that good stuff. It's nothing crazy. It's kind of like the more flexible versions of those standard equations. So 9 for sum. That's the function number. And what's the reference? We want to do this one right here. Then we will close those parentheses, enter, 106, 106. So we have these same functions here, but when we pull out apples, we're going to see this one stay the same, so it'll be wrong because it should adjust to 79. And we'll see these ones, these ones adjust to the 79. Apples. And there you go. That's what subtotal does. And right here, we've gone average. That's the standard average. This is the subtotal average. So they're different as well. Same with here. This is another sum figure. So those are the advantages of subtotal. And if we go to aggregate, what this will do is it'll ignore an error. So you can do a few different things with it. For the most part, if you're doing an average function, something like that, it's great for this because when you have value errors, let's say you have a VLOOKUP that's going to pull total amounts from one column or one sheet right into this sheet. After that, you're going to have a few value errors because maybe the referenced item didn't exist. But you see this? You can't do an average normally. You can't do a sum. Or you can do a sum, an average, and it will potentially miss that item. So it will get you closer to your normal if there's a huge issue here. For example, this A and this B. But these ones, it will fix any calculations you have that are averages, things like that. So, or sums. So in order to use this one, we'll go aggregate. Now we want our function again. So it's the same as with subtotal. We're going to add it, so 9. We want our sum. And here's the other caveat with this one. What do we want to do? Ignore subtotal and aggregate that are nested? No. But you can look at all this stuff. You can ignore nothing and use it as a standard go-to in terms of you can use it for your sum functions, your averages, whatever, as long as it's contained within that function number, that first option here. Or you can do ignore hidden rows. So if we pull anything out of the filter, it's not a bad one. Ignore error values, that's what we're looking for right now, or we can do both. We will do both. So 7, comma, and what is the array? And there we go. So if we go here, sort and filter, took it off the others, added it to here. I'm going to get rid of the values. We have our sum here, just adding everything. And there we are. So you see, it'll still work there. It'll still pick up the value because with the sum function, very often values or error values break it. Aggregate, it's a nice way to pick that up, and it's something that can save you a lot of time. All right, see you next time.